Hi, folks. Welcome to Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark. I'm your co host, Mark. This is your co host, Harry.
Hello.
And we are two intelligent people who don't like talking.
Changing it up,
Yeah,
huh?
I know. It's an inversion. It's a deconstruction of what we normally do. We
Yeah.
are two idiots who love talking about things we have no idea what we're talking about. Ask
Uh-huh.
our fans. Um, we hope you had a wonderful week, folks. We hope you're still alive. We hope everything's okay. Um, Side note, Canada, you've got some fucking explaining to do for all those fucking dead bodies that you've been burying.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, beside the other 200 or close to 300 bodies that were found near a school, uh, they found another 700 in Saskatchewan. I don't know where it is. But this is some recent shit apparently. Harry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lowball you. I just completely remember this as it happened.
No, it's
So,
all good.
yeah,
Go for it.
this is just this is a dark bit of history in Canada's very sordid past that it doesn't want people to remember, and it's a very recent thing in Canada's past. This isn't something that ended the turn of the last century. This is something that happened as late as the 1970s, apparently.
Mm.
Um, Not that the United States is any much better, but this is always the case of indigenous people being ripped from their families and indoctrinated, and when that apparently doesn't please them, the colonizing force, you just bury them. So hats off to you, Canada.
Mm.
So you got some explaining to do. Anywho, sorry to start you off with such a bummer. I just thought that would be kind of important.
Yeah.
News. Harry,
Yeah.
despite just hearing about 700 buried indigenous bodies in Canada, how was your week?
My week was actually really good. I got to see a
Yeah?
really good friend of mine at the movies for the first time in a while.
Oh my
Uh
God.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No way. I did the same fucking thing.
No
Wait,
way.
what did you see?
I saw Quiet Place too.
Oh my God. I saw a similar movie. I saw A Quiet Place Part 2.
No way.
I
Did you by any
Harry,
chance
right? What? Yeah.
by any chance did you do $5 Tuesday?
Yeah. Holy
Holy
shit.
shit.
I think I saw you.
I think I saw you.
Shit. We were sitting right next to each other.
Right?
You were the guy who was really quiet. You remember I was the fidgety one? I just
Mm-hmm.
couldn't stop talking throughout the entire movie.
Wait, did you fix my chair?
I did. Oh my God. It's been so long.
Oh man.
Oh my God. It's like the end of Empire of the Sun when little
Mm-hmm.
baby Christian Bale is looking at his mom's face after not seeing her for like 2 years. And he's like, oh God, this person is my mom. And then she looks and they hug. Except you're not my mom, Harry.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're
yeah. You know what? That was you. And that was an amazing fucking evening.
It really was. It was
It could have been it literally could have been fucking Cannibal Holocaust and
right.
just us vomiting, and nothing could have made that night awful at all. We both
Very
had
true.
our wonderful ladies with each other. We both had a couple laughs,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
we both paid for absolutely expensive treats.
Yeah.
Now, for anyone interested, I don't necessarily recommend taking our word for it that we just go to the theater. We went because we're vaccinated. We are making sure that we were socially distanced from other people. If you feel like you want to go to the theater, go right ahead. Just take a couple of things under consideration: social distancing, wearing a mask, and such. And just make sure that that's something that you want to do. Theaters are
Mm-hmm.
still one of the more socially distant activities to do, but still, whenever you're going out, don't be a fool. Put a mask on your face and make that rhyme. But yeah, just because we went out and we did things fairly right, don't take that as necessarily an endorsement just to run out in the theater. If you want, do all the precautions beforehand. That being said, holy fucking shit, was it great to be back in the theater with my friend.
Agreed.
And with a good
yes.
movie.
This is true. We'll talk about
Yes.
the movie in a second, but just experiencing the theater of just going in and walking through and sitting down and just seeing a movie theater in a big screen, or seeing a movie at a big screen. It's hard to beat, and it's obviously something that we discussed before, where it's like, it's hard to beat that experience, and it really is. Watching that movie in a movie theater is probably way better than watching it in, my TV at home. Like,
They have,
yes.
it's a lot of what they have is like on demand at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
I
just
don't
not
know
the
how
same.
valid that is for other people, but it's not, at least for us, for
Yeah.
this specific instance, I don't think it's the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd prefer, like, okay, so obviously, for some reason, Mark and I were joking. It seems like Disney completely bought out like the trailer positions or
Oh my
whatever.
god.
It like was nothing but like Disney flicks, the like for the trailers. It was weird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is what it is. Disney has the money, right? Um,
Oh yeah.
but like, that aside, like watching those Marvel movies, like watching the trailers on YouTube and stuff, I'm like, oh, this looks cool. But like experiencing them in the movie theater, I'm like, wow, I'm pretty stoked to watch these movies in theaters.
Yeah, agreed. I think I was driving with my girlfriend to the theater, and the first thing I really said to her was like, "Man, this is what people miss. It's not the movie, it's the trailers." And then fucking
Mm-hmm.
almost the entirety of the trailers that we watched, all like 8 of them, which was fucking excessive,
Yeah.
were nothing but fucking Marvel trailers.
Yep.
I like turned to Harry 3/4 of the way through these trailers, and I made like some kind of like Gremlins reference, where like you have the gremlin and they're laying on their back and they have the ice cream thing just pouring ice cream into their mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't get up and their stomach is getting bigger and bigger and they're gonna explode, and they're like trying to like get them to turn it off. That was me. Like, just the ice cream was the Marvel trailers, and
Yep.
I just couldn't get up. I couldn't be like, that's enough. Stop it.
Stop it.
But yeah, sitting down, fixing, and you're the mechanic. That's the weird thing. I fixed
Oh.
your reclining seat.
Oh yeah, that was great. Okay, so I was like, we all sat down in our chairs and they're all recliners. You have the little button on the side of your chair to like, put, and like everyone else is just like, putting this, and I press mine. I'm like, boom, and it goes, it just stops, and I'm like, huh. And
Yeah,
then
it
I do
didn't
it
even give
again.
you the
It's like,
time of day.
meh. And then when I went back, I was like, meh. Like, I was like, wow. And then Mark's like, I'm no mechanic, but gets down, fucking pulls on it, makes it so it's all the way up. I'm like, okay. I mean, this works. I don't have to get off.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. What can I say? The right guy for the right job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm the Freeman,
Oh.
the right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world. Yeah.
Yep.
Call me Valve. I'm here whenever you need me for Half-Life 3.5. I don't know.
Yep.
Call me, please. But yeah, um, I always forget. I know I watched Army of the Dead
Mm.
with my lady and my Faja, and you watched what did you watch
It was an
when
anime
you
movie.
Oh,
Or it
right,
was,
My
yeah.
Hero.
not My
Yeah,
Hero. It's a Demon
Demon
Slayer.
Slayer.
Yeah.
Sleeman Dare. Yeah,
Yep.
I know. I know. I watched that and I got very palpable feeling that I hadn't felt for a long time, but
Mm-hmm.
I got a more intimate feeling in the smaller theater with you, my girlfriend, your girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
It was a warm feeling that I genuinely enjoyed.
Yeah, it's obviously, it must have been great to go with your, significant other and your dad, but it's like it's like, going with friends as a group is kind of like what we always used to do. So it's like going back to that is like obviously, something normal that we used to do, and also just kind of like nostalgic, right? Like this is what
Oh
we've
yeah.
done for so long that like it's like man, why haven't we been doing this? Oh right, pandemic.
I'm
um
not gonna lie. I'm not
mhm.
gonna lie. If Republicans switched from they're gonna take your guns and culture away and said those damn cultural Marxist liberals are gonna take your theaters away, I'd vote red every time. Every
Mm,
time.
yeah,
I don't know
I
why I
mean,
went with that. I'm just saying that palpable feeling of nostalgia that those people love from the 50s and they
yeah,
vote on that, man, that feeling came back. And
okay,
that was a really strong noticeable feeling.
fair enough.
I was kidding about voting red. I would rather pay a hefty fine.
Mm-hmm,
Just want
mm-hmm.
to point that out. That was a joke.
Just
No
a
one's
joke.
laughing. All right.
No.
Shuffle on. Next subject. Woo! Demetrius, better laugh next time, okay? All right. So, the subject of the theater that we went to go see was A Quiet Place Part 2.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I want to pick your brain. I want to know what you had to think about it.
Um. Okay, so what I thought, I mean, I'm trying to get myself out of the nostalgia that we had with just watching a movie and actually
Yeah.
critiquing the movie right now.
Hmm.
And
We can still talk about the theater. I can talk until you're fucking blue in the face.
no.
The greasy leather seats, the smell of stale popcorn, the 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 broken lights that kept buzzing over my head,
Oh,
the
dude, don't
sound
even
of
fucking
laughing
remind
children who wouldn't shut the fuck up. God, the
dude.
nostalgia.
Those fucking lights, though, that was fucking ridiculous. They were
God.
just like they're like dimming and then just get just turning on slightly. Like, okay, are they
Our
trying to turn?
heads kept like awkwardly bobbing. So like tilt upright to the right, tilt upright to the left,
Yeah,
and that shit. All four of us like at the same time, just like
yeah.
oh,
Oh,
oh, it was
oh.
good.
Yeah. But I meant more like it seemed like the movie was better than it probably was, just because of not, I mean, just for the full experience. So I'm trying to get myself out of the entire experience and just the movie, like what I felt about the movie itself.
You know what? You remember? Hold on, hold on.
Yeah,
Since
yeah, go
since
for
we're on the topic of it, I still want to. I realized I jumped into it. I made a bad joke. I wanted to segue out of it.
it. Yes.
Every comedian makes a mistake. I feel like we've talked about this before, and I don't know how valid it is. It could just be our generation,
Hmm.
and that just sounds weird. It could just be this little niche group of people. But when New Year's came along or Christmas came along, I get
Hmm.
the feeling that I would have enjoyed Wonder Woman 1984 a lot more had I watched it in the theater. Like,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
get that it would have been bad still,
Right.
but I get the feeling that how I would have perceived the film and the ability to like communicate my feelings about it would have been different and more enjoyable. Once I got
Okay.
off the couch after watching it like Christmas Day, I was like, wow, this movie fucking sucks. But I mean, no, never mind the fact that if we went to the theater, we'd pay $30 to see it just so I
Yeah.
could say it sucks. But
Right.
like, that communal cathartic like mockery or sadness or like rage around it that
Yeah.
you can have with other people, I think is in a very intimate location. And I don't know what's different. Like seriously, you're just in a darker room with a larger screen. But for the most part, I'd see the movie with the same grouping of people.
Yeah.
Nothing like substantially materially would be different.
Yeah, but it is a different experience, right? Like, yeah, it's just a bigger
Agreed.
screen, darker room, but it's just the way the surround sound and the big screen, like, um, you know, uh, pulls you into the experience. We didn't we didn't have like a full a full audience in the movie theater when we went, right? There's
Hmm.
like two other groups other than us, so uh
Right. Yeah.
but there's always that like that experience of like having a bunch of people around you watching the same movie as you, which I think I prefer less of, and I kind of enjoy the
Hmm.
movies now since there's not a lot of people. um
Yeah.
yeah, but obviously, like, when it's a good movie, like, nothing beats watching it in the big screen. um
Agreed.
yeah, so
Endgame was a good example where it was like,
yes.
we had watched all these movies for like essentially 11 years, and you finally get to the part where Cap is, lifting Mjolnir, and one of our friends literally like
Remember.
howled in excitement for like 3 whole seconds,
Yeah.
and everyone joined in afterwards. And I'm like, you can't do that at home. You
No,
can,
yeah, you can't.
but you're not going to get the same like endorphins.
Yes, it's true. Like we've talked before, we'll talk about it later, but Loki, like, the past two episodes, like, I've been super stoked, and yeah, it's, small little group, but it's like it's not the same experience as when, like, you're watching in the big screen when there's a bunch of people also freaking out with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It
I mean,
is it
that's
is a
just
different
the
experience.
nature of really good storytelling. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably reaching, but you know, when I think of like storytelling or the tradition of oral storytelling, I always think of like some wise like druid or like matriarch, and she's like whispering over a fire,
Right.
and like she's putting every ounce of like the story of her people or their people into what's going on. And like, don't get me wrong, like Disney's Marvel whatever is not, in my opinion, like a cultural icon that needs to be like handed down from generation to generation. But like the stories that you tell are, it's just the
Mm-hmm.
wrapping that I don't think necessarily matters. The intrigue, the heartbreak, the laughter. It's less enjoyable when it's just a story that you're taking in, whereas it's a story that you can take in with other people, and you can
Right.
see that enjoyment on their eyes.
Yes.
If that makes any sense. Or I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe I'm being a little too lofty, or I'm speaking in
No.
tongues,
Tongues.
tongue use.
Mongoose. But yeah, you know, um movie experience. It was great. You know, trying to think of anything else silly happened. No, it's just us seeing each other for a while and then silly things during the movie like lights and shit and
Hmm.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the movie itself, I liked it. Um I think I told you while we're there, I enjoyed that we saw some form of how it started, right? Um
Yes. The opening
uh
scene is what, 5 to 10 minutes long, and
yes.
it ratchets up a great deal of like tension.
Yes. And I really really enjoyed that because that's something that I asked right after watching the original. I was like, I want to know more of the origin of what happened. Like, you kind of get
Hmm.
thrown into this hey, this is happening, and you're kind of like, oh, this is actually really cool. It's a great
Hmm.
concept, right? Like monsters that like don't see you but can hear you and have like really powerful hearing. And I was super intrigued about what was like where do they come from, right? So they kind of like got us set up for how they started attacking, right? But they
Hmm.
didn't really answer where they. Well, they came from space, right? Spoiler alert. um,
In
um,
space, not even they can hear you scream.
this is true. But you know they came from a meteor or something. I think you even said like they probably just were like attached to a meteor and then it hit fucking
Yeah,
Earth and
I
there it
made
is.
I aptly called them space lice.
Yes.
That they're
And
kind of
yeah.
just like on this rock, and it's like they're probably not sent here or anything. They just exist
Hmm.
and whatnot.
Yeah, and I thought that was cool. I like to see the origin. I saw like how everything started and stuff. I thought that was really cool. My thing that I was confused about was how they figured out that it was noise that triggered
Mm.
them. You know,
Oh,
like
yeah. I cuz
like
I Yeah, go
like
ahead.
me. It was more of like, how do they know that they can't see them and they can only hear them? You know what I mean? Like I know
Mhm.
when they're inside the, I believe it's the bar or the pub, whatever, tavern. They're like trying to be quiet because of um just because they're probably like they don't it doesn't know we're in here, so if we make any noise it'll probably hear us and come in. But I don't know, I still don't know where they got the
Yeah.
idea of like, oh, they can
Uh,
only hear us.
mhm. I think I don't think Krasinski is that amateur. I think maybe it wasn't meant to be discovered in that instant because
Mm,
it's vaguely said in the beginning of the first one, or like uh shown at. Um
oh,
I
okay.
feel like that probably would have been a good time to just be like, "Oh, here's like a little throwaway thing where John Krasinski's character, like notices that it reacts to the sound." But
Okay.
the scene is built around like, oh, it's don't make any noise, da da da, and then the phone
Yeah,
goes
okay.
off and then it attacks, and then there's really nothing to indicate like a reaction or
Yeah.
an introspection to what happened. It's just they go into the bar, the girl's answering her phone, uh, the creature's right outside the door. The guy prays. He puts his hand over his mouth as if like he immediately knows,
Yeah, that was the
and
thing
then
that
the phone goes off again. That triggers the slaughter in the bar, the pub.
yeah.
So I I'm torn because I feel like that might have been a solid indicator or a nice little signpost scene where it's like this is where Lee gets the idea that they hunt by sound. But I believe there's a bit in the first one where he finds out some other way,
Yeah.
because I don't necessarily need um a reminder, but I
Mhm.
think a scene like that is a perfect reminder for people who haven't seen. The movie is almost perfectly self-contained, where it's like you don't need to see the first one. All you need to know
Yeah.
is they hear by sound, or they see by sound,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right. Like you don't have to see the first one to just experience the second one. It
Hmm.
kind of gives you the intro to the first one and then you kind of get thrown into, what basically is happening afterwards and you don't have to pay attention to the first one or see it to kind of just experience the second one. With no,
And
it's because
the same thing goes for the first one. I
Yeah,
honestly think as a movie,
on its
it
own.
doesn't need the second one at all.
True, true. I'm sure they did the second one because people asked for it, like me, because
Oh yeah,
I wanted more
because
origin.
right.
But again, it was still really good.
Hmm.
Um, I think so. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I thought the acting was fantastic. They brought in I'm never gonna
Killian
remember
Murphy.
Killian Murphy did
Hmm.
a bomb ass job.
He
As soon
always,
yeah,
yeah.
as soon as I saw his face in the beginning of the movie, I was like, both Olivia and I looked at each other like, is that who I think it is? Like, and
Yeah,
yeah, we're
him in the beginning is not a good look. Like in the beginning, he
yeah,
looks like a fucking truck driver or a truck
mm-hmm,
gas
mm-hmm,
station operator with that fucking that stereotypical like gray vest with like a oversized sweat cap.
yeah,
But like as he I noticed like halfway through the movie there's this scene where they're on a bridge and the sun is shining on him and
mm,
he's got like this like jacket wrapped around his chest and
yes,
waist, and he's got his beard and his hat, and I'm like, that guy looks fucking post-apocalyptic worthy
yeah,
and handsome.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Uh,
Anyway, sorry. So,
no,
formal thing. What's some of the stuff that you liked? What did you enjoy about this movie?
no. I liked. I'm like horrible at critiquing movies, man. Um, I liked. I think I just liked the pace of it. Um, I think it's easier to point out the faults than what was good about it. Um,
Mhm. Well, that's
but
always the case, but
again,
yeah.
like yeah, I really enjoyed the acting. I think everybody kind of did a killer job doing acting out the characters that they needed to act out. Right, going from uh actually Emily Blunt and a guy um to like the
Fucking
really annoying
Emily Blunt is so good
yes
with the
and
little bit of time that she has.
oh yeah, and then even to the annoying little kid he or younger person.
Oh, Marcus, yeah.
Yeah, like he played that character so well. Like I was
Hmm.
annoyed by his character. It's like, hey, you need to make this character annoying. Okay, cool. And yeah, I was annoyed by the guy. So acting overall was great. Again, I can point out a little more faults than I could, uh, things that I did enjoy.
Go
But I
ahead.
think, but again, overall acting was like key. You're right. Like I really love that. The faults for me, it's gonna mainly be maybe some scenes and maybe some of their thought processes on what was
Hmm.
happening. Um,
Yeah, I
I
can get behind some of that.
um, I think we discussed it where there's like multiple things happening at once. Emily Blunt was going somewhere to get,
Hmm.
gauze and stuff like that, and then the younger kid was left like the baby on its own, and then went for some reason started exploring for some stupid reason,
Yeah.
and then the other scenario that was happening was the two other uh characters were off like trying to find a boat to go to this island, um
Hmm.
and you were even saying it seemed like those all these scenes were they're going back and forth, right, because they're all happening
So,
at the same time.
did you want to kind of spoiler alert it? We can discuss it just to give them an idea.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but whatever, if you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it. It is
Yeah,
what it
fuck you,
is. Yeah.
Demetrius.
Yeah,
Um,
go for it.
so let's we'll do that. What are a couple of the things that you wanted to that you had a couple issues with?
um I just, again, like with those scenes, I don't like what ends up happening with the youngest kid. Like
Yeah.
I was just confused on why they chose the reasoning of what
Yeah.
happens. Um,
Okay.
yeah, that one, and then the other thing, it just seemed like when they got to quote unquote paradise, it just like I understand they kind of needed to. I don't know if they really needed to, but add like, oh, this person, like I don't know, like having that monster land on the island with them, right? Like it just seemed way too quick, and it just in a form that I don't know. It just didn't. I don't know. I feel like it could have been done a better way. Um,
Okay. Okay.
like I felt like, oh, he's like, oh yeah, well, he starts talking, and then he walks away, and then he hears the boat, and then he looks over and sees that it's boat, and
Oh,
then he starts freaking.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah. We'll
understand,
talk
like
about that.
yeah, I felt like it could have been done better.
Like, you know what it could have been?
Hmm,
It could have been um it could have been a scene where that's one specific scene, and
mm-hmm,
then here's the thing. Don't change the pace, but
mm,
like provide a cut. So like, oh,
uh,
you're just like your dad, walks to the beach, cries a bit. That scene is done.
yeah,
And then have another scene like a couple minutes later where it's like he's walking along the beach
yeah,
now. And then it happens. Like you don't have to pace that differently, but like it felt like they were, for the sake of utility and
mm-hmm,
like speed, they put two things that I don't think necessarily should have been in the same like flow together. I
yeah,
completely agree. So
yeah.
so those are pretty much the same things actually that I wanted to discuss with you. Okay.
Okay.
Did you want to go over the plot then, and we'll discuss some of the things that I liked and didn't care for?
Yeah, you go for it.
Okay. So we'll go over the plot real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So the movie picks up uh, day one. It says it goes over in 10 minutes the where our main characters are in the beginning of all this. They're at a baseball game. These things land on Earth. A whole ruckus happens, and then it flash forwards to 470 something days. The moment one of them is killed, the aliens, by Emily Blunt, once they realize that the cochlear implant sonic bomb thing works. Um, Emily Blunt goes and gets the supplies for the baby tank. I actually don't know the daughter's name. That's so disappointing.
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
the daughter, um, she gets a little speaker, hooks up the microphone to it, has a little portable sound bomb. They head north to what I can imagine is like a smelting plant where Emmett is hiding. The boy, the idiot boy, as you call him, he's injured on the way, and Emmett, who we see in the day one prologue, sees the sound bomb go off and kill one of these things. He has a makeshift hideout using, I think, what like some kind of water tank
Yeah.
um, to mask sound. We'll get into that. That's something I really liked. Um, and he is essentially lost all hope. He's incapable of killing himself, it seems, and is just kind of coasting, but is not willing to coast with anyone else because they're out of supplies, and he's essentially what I can wager is just kind of waiting to die.
Yeah.
Um, the daughter realizing, hold on, the son, while recovering from the leg wound, hears Beyond the Sea by Frank Sinatra and realizes uh, that this could be their ticket. And the daughter pinpoints the location of where it's coming from and decides that she can use the sound bomb to amplify other nearby radios with that signal. She leaves in the dead of night, Emily Blunt's character urges Emmett to go and save her. He goes,
I'm gonna stop you
tries
right
to
there.
save her. Yeah.
That's one thing that I found like I don't know, like if someone were to say that to me, like I know post-apocalyptic, blah blah blah, this and that, but like if someone like that were to come to me, I don't know if like, because like Emily Blunt's character kept being like bringing up her husband and comparing him to her husband, and like I felt like maybe because it was just his character, but it's like I feel like anybody else would have just told her to fuck off, like
Yeah. I
like.
think that might have been a little thin, but
Mm,
I think it's at least made clear enough
yeah,
that he's a good guy, and it's
yeah, fair
less I
enough.
don't want to care for you. It's that I'm kind of on the end of my ropes. I don't want to, but
Yeah,
I want
okay.
to, and he's ashamed. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
he is not the kind of character that we run into later in the movie. He is every much the kind of character that they are,
Okay,
but ashamed.
okay.
He's ashamed because he didn't go to help when he could have. He's ashamed uh, because he can't protect them the way he thinks. He doesn't have his wife. He doesn't have his kids. He is everything that any one of those family members could have become. And then Emily Blunt
Mm,
throws the smackdown on him.
right, okay. Okay, I can get behind that.
But no. Rest assured, I agree with you. I do feel that
Yeah,
it was a bit of a heel turn. It was a bit easy, but I don't think it was meant to be hard. He wants to help. He's just
right.
kind of lost his will. He's lost a bit of hope. He doesn't yeah, so repeating myself, I'm stopping.
Yep.
Um he goes, helps out. They run into a couple crazy upper middle class boat people. Um and they get to the island. I'm going to
Oh,
stop there for a sec.
I'll say you missed the train part.
Oh, yeah.
The
They
don't
meet
talk
up at a
about my
train.
wife.
Fucking oh god. Okay. You son of a bitch. Before they meet up, the daughter is using the train tracks to plot a course to the coast to get to this island. She is grabbing some supplies because, as in with the last movie, they're barefoot, and she's been barefoot this whole time, and her feet are bleeding. Um, she causes an Uncle Ruckus getting a medical supply, bringing about one of the aliens. Emmett helps her. They go into the little terminal desk area, and he's like, I'm taking you home. And she's like, I can't fucking hear you. And he's like, I'm taking you home. And then she's like, I still can't fucking hear you. Enunciate, bitch. And he's like,
Mm,
I'm taking you home. And she's like, no. And then he's like,
that's not-
and she's like, but you said your wife. And he's like, don't fucking talk about my wife. I'm gonna smack the shit out of you, fucking toddler. And then
yeah,
she's like, all right, cool. Help us. And he's like, oh, okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, why not? Yeah, sure. No, fucking whatever. There,
So
happy
then,
Harry.
yeah. So then she
So then they run
convinces.
into the upper class
Uh,
boat people. We'll get into that in a sec. Then they're on their way to the island. While this is all going on, Emily Blunt's character goes back to town to get painkillers for her son and another air tank for the baby crib sarcophagus. The child, the boy, being an idiot, or because the plot demands him, explores the smelting plant, causes a ruckus when he finds the effigy or the mausoleum, you would call it, of Emmett's dead wife, who is
mhm.
not buried. Um, he accidentally locks himself into the tank. He splits a bit of air with him and the baby. Emily Blunt gets back in there, and they hide out in the tank for a bit. So, with Emmett and the girl on the island, what they don't know is that one of the aliens in their encounter with the middle class or upper middle class boat people is that one of them has been teetering on this boat slowly onto the island. They can't swim and they drown fairly quickly, but this one managed to kind of grapple on top of a boat and its inertia kind of propelled it in the direction of the island. Emmett and the girl, God, I feel like such an asshole saying girl. I don't mean to. Harry, find the name for me, please, man. They go to the radio tower where the signal's been playing. They play it. It kills one of the aliens that's there, the only one that's on the island, and the boy who is listening to the sound through the radio in the tank with his mother uses the feedback sound on the radio to push the alien back and blow its fucking brains out. The end.
Reagan.
So, Reaganomics. Oh, Reagan. Oh, okay, I thought you were just saying like President Reagan. Reagan. Yeah. Okay. Apologies. Thank you. God damn, I thought you literally just said Reagan for the Reagan's sake of it. I thought the acting was really good. I thought the actress who played Reagan did a phenomenal job with like just her facial expressions.
Yeah.
I think Emily Blunt does a great job, even though it's not really her movie. It's Killian's or it's Emmett's and Reagan's. Yeah. The young actor who plays Marcus, I think his name is, he does a fine job too. Most of the time he's in pain or in distress. Damon Hansu is in it for like 2 minutes, and I am so disappointed. I think that's the most disappointing part in the movie for me. That like he's a pretty good actor. I like his performances. He doesn't get enough performances where he gets to kind of like dig into something. But he plays one of the members of the island who helps out, who gets fucking killed in the silliest of ways. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's see what I like first of all. Yes, I was talking about the tank.
Yes.
I really like that the rules for this movie are set up as early as possible. I don't just mean like, oh, they react to sound and da-da-da-da-da and all this bullshit. Like, I don't mean the lore rules. I mean the basic language of the movie. So it's made clear that in like the first 20 minutes of the movie, technically when it's introduced, the first like 3 minutes, that this tank can only be locked from the outside, has a limited amount of oxygen, and a lighter is inside to indicate the amount of oxygen that's been used up.
Yeah.
And that a towel is put over the lock to prevent from being trapped inside until you'd fucking die, right? Yes. I think that's really great storytelling. That's efficient, that's quick. You are building up the tools for the crescendo of the movie. And another part is when they go into the smelting plant or the steel plant, whatever it is, when Marcus injures himself, he triggers 2 of the aliens to come along. Or triggers them to chase him. One of them is killed when Reagan triggers the sound bomb, and the other one follows them through and pretty much destroys everything near Emmett's little hiding hole. One of them is the sprinkler system.
Yes.
And the sprinkler system is something that is brought up too. There are 3 scenes interspersed through the entire movie where you can see that a buildup of water is occurring in the sprinkler system. And that is just a little thing. It's like, oh no, duh, you want to kind of set the seeds for like building up. But like this gets overlooked a lot. Like, and the fact that the tank, the hiding spot, that's both like, I cannot describe how efficient and how well done I thought that was, because any other movie would be like the kid runs into another room and then accidentally does it, and we have no other prior understanding of how this works. the
Yeah.
beginning of the movie introduces us to the tank. It sets
Mhm.
up the rules for the tank, the oxygen, the fact that the towel was on the front, and then he comes back and the rules are put into place and the rules are broken. Not
Yep.
literally broken as in
Right.
they don't matter, but like the mechanics for it. And then that becomes the set piece. And I love that. Like I don't like how long it goes on, but I like that in and of itself. The same
Yeah.
thing with the sprinkler system. I don't necessarily care for it when Jesus, Emily Blunt's character comes back, she lures one of the aliens with one of the air tanks, and inadvertently the sprinkler system goes off. But this has been
Which
built up for
which
something
is
that you're going to see happen.
which is bullshit because that's not how sprinkler systems work.
Yeah, no, it's bullshit, especially since it goes off at the perfect time, even
Yeah.
though it's been hinted at that it's going to go. That was a little much for me. But yeah, but it's still something that they laid the groundwork for.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it was realistic that it went off or not, the rules of the movie dictated that it would.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You had one bit where it's like, oh, the sprinkler system looks like it's leaking, and then the next scene is, oh, the sprinkler system is leaking a lot of water, and then the last bit is like, oh, she hears the water in the pipes going off, and it just inadvertently blows up. That's what I like. That's solid storytelling where it's like you're laying the foundations for what's to come. Um, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's hard, but I'm thinking. Um, One of the things that I was talking to you with, and it kind of seeped into my brain when I was talking to Stace in the car
Mm.
back. Um, you and I both talked about the scene or the scenes. What happens is I mentioned two fairly innocuous bits. I mentioned the upper middle class or whatnot, boat people, and I mentioned Marcus getting scared seeing the little mausoleum area, right?
Yeah.
So how these unfold is the kid, without any specific reason, just wanders the area, which I think is pretty lazy writing. Not lazy, but maybe a little short-sighted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, finds the mausoleum, trips in fear, and triggers the aliens. While at the same time, Emmett and Reagan are going to pick up a boat in this very dark, dreary, scary dock area and find what look like kind of like cannibal boat people.
Yeah.
And while we were both watching it, there's this bit where this kid wraps a bell noose around Emmett's head, and the leader, who's this scraggly, long-haired dude in like a robe, walks over to Emmett, kind of just stares at him, looks at Reagan 5 different times in a couple different scenes, looks over or walks over to Reagan, looks at her, looks back at Emmett, and they just keep doing this. And I thought it was going somewhere, like it was some kind of a ruse,
Yeah.
because the scene of Marcus going to the mausoleum and finding the body is kind of built up in a very weird way. Like
Yeah.
as if something might be amiss. And then the eye to eye contact that the guy does with Emmett also feels like it implies something. And blue balling aside, the point is that I was under the assumption that Marcus was going to find that something was wrong with the body. He was just going to find a body and realize something was up with it. It could have been eaten, it could have been hacked up or something, or like hung up on like a rack for butchering, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, Emmett was giving Reagan to the middle class boat people for I don't know, payment or something. I get the
Um.
impression that they might have written Emmett to be a bad guy at one point.
Yeah.
Like he's heart of gold, lovable in this. Cillian Murphy does a great job, but I get the impression how they framed those two scenes that are at the exact same time, feeling like they're building to something, give the impression that he was going to be a bad guy. which I thought would have also been interesting because he says like, you know, the people in this world now, they're not worth saving. I don't have the food to help you. There are some things that kind of imply that something isn't quite right, but they don't
Yeah.
do that. Um, that's one part that I thought was kind of odd. I do think that scene went on for a little too long, like a lot too long. And it's the
Mhm.
same thing with when Marcus escapes from the mausoleum area down into the hideout. Um, and Emily Blunt is trying to get to him. I felt like those two scenes in relation to one another went on a little too long. Well, the rest of the movie, as you put it, is very quick. It's really well paced. It's well structured, in my opinion, too. But those scenes in particular, I thought really kind of slowed the movie down.
Okay. Yeah,
Um, the
I can
th-
agree.
yeah, the third act, they're on the island. We don't really get to know them. They're like 50 people. They're in these nice little houses, and they're kind of enjoying everything. And when Emmett finds out that the ship that alien has been like riding on has drifted onto the island, the next scene is literally this guy loudly yanking up this bucket from a well, and you're immediately like, yeah, he's fucked.
Yeah.
He's absolutely fucked. Just dead. Um, it's, you know what, it's actually at that point I really want to give credit to the sound design.
Mm.
There are
Yes.
moments, the sound design or the speakers for the movie were not, or the theater were not that great,
No.
but hearing things that kind of pop out that aren't necessarily loud but are
Mm-hmm.
loud in relation to the quietness of parts of this movie are really good.
Okay.
I like the sense of perspective with the sound. When characters put things over their ears, you hear a
Yeah.
muffled sound, or
Mm-hmm.
you immediately assume the perspective through sound of this character.
Yes.
That's something I really enjoyed. Uh, let's see. Yeah, I could see them making another one. I don't really think they need to. Again, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I could see it. Apparently, they're going to make a third one. I would just like it to be like, okay, we're kind of in the third act of the series.
Yeah.
You know, the first one was setting everything up. The second one was kind of the middle portion of the franchise, and the third one's kind of like, well, how do we end this? Because they
Yeah.
keep ending the movies on a positive note. You know, the first one is, you know, the husband's dead, but we found this device that can, you know, really give us the edge.
Okay.
The second one is the same thing. You know,
Yeah.
we have managed to expand our capabilities, and that's it. And I don't really know what the third one can do. Oh, we win. That's it.
Right.
But I'm still excited. I'm more than willing to see. I'm Whenever I see the trailers to these movies, I'm never excited because I feel like they're too gimmicky. Like, oh, it's an alien invasion movie,
Mm.
and then, oh, they hunt by sound. Oh, but I think this is a testament to how well Krasinski does with these movies. They're
Yes.
not they're not the greatest thing since fucking sliced bread, but like these are more than competent suspense horror films.
Yeah.
Like and like on paper this would be like an awful B movie. Oh, it's a it's an alien movie where they hunt by sound. Yeah, this is something you'd see in like 2000 with a bunch of like B actors.
Yeah.
And not to mention this spawned like a couple of movies behind it, a sensory horror that are just bad movies or B movies that don't have the same umph that this one did. And the second one is testament that it's not just the one movie
Mm-hmm.
that I almost said Kirsten Dunst, Jesus, that John Krasinski can make these movies good, and he does make he's not just a serviceable director. He is a capable director.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. I so far I've enjoyed
C'est vrai.
his stuff. Yeah.
I can't wait until he like does the third one where they're in like Philadelphia or
Oh
Pennsylvania
god.
and
No.
they go up to the Dunder Mifflin like office and it's all
Oh no.
dilapidated. Oh, that'll be so good.
That would
He just
be.
films like say it,
Uh,
say it, say it. They
just
so look here's my pitch, okay? Here's
yeah.
my
Go
pitch.
for it. Go for it.
So Lee asked what Emmett's brother thought of all this. Remember in the beginning when he's like, "Oh, I'll call my
Oh
brother
yeah.
again." So they're going to the military base, right? And along the way, they find Emmett's brother, Dwight Schrute, still at Dunder Mifflin.
Oh my god. Okay.
And that's where the movie is. It's like an Alamo. So instead of like, a globe-trotting thing or like a
Mm-hmm.
farm thing, they're in the one building. And it's all dark and dilapidated and like, it's got spikes on it. It's got the heads of some of the aliens, and it's like you find out Dwight Schrute's just been like chewing on them to death
Well.
instead of sounding them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it. A
I.
Quiet Place. That's what she said.
Oh god. I would watch it just to watch it and say that I watched it.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Oh man.
And there's like a scene where Reagan puts her hand on Jim's seat. And the
Oh
sun is pouring in natural light and it's just her silhouette. And it's
yeah.
just, oh god, it's so powerful. So
Mhm.
powerful.
What that would be silly. It really would.
Hey,
Mhm.
that's what we do, pal.
That is what we do, don't we?
We do silly.
We do silly. Anything else about Quiet Place? Two.
It was
Part two.
okay. It was good. It was good. I liked it. Cillian Murphy's cool. Emily Blunt's great. The kids are cool.
Yeah. Like
That baby's going to be so air deprived for the rest of its life. They're going to have to
really.
put it down and eat it.
I think what made it good too is not paying the full like $13 to watch it.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Did you know when I went to see Army of the Dead,
Hmm.
the tickets were only $10?
Okay, cheaper than
And this is
usual.
at one of the other ones that we've been to.
Okay, yeah.
The pricier one. And
Yes,
then
yes.
I actually looked up because I speak the devil. I wanted to see this movie before you called or messaged, and
Mhm.
it was $13. That's less than a month. That's
Yeah.
less than a month, and they raised it on you. And the concessions or confections or whatever are still just put your kid through college expensive. Hey, it's one of the novelties of theaters. Good at times, right?
Man. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, yeah, I mean, it seems like everything is going back to normal. I mean, at least here in California where we live, it's everything's been lifted. Well, not everything, but it seems just like California's just back open, which, you know, um, you know, uh, I'm sure everything's gonna go back up in price to go see things and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Well, there's always $5 Tuesday, pal.
There is like it's okay. Even before the pandemic, $5 Tuesdays were pretty dope because well, $5 Tuesdays, right?
It's
Um,
always dope, pal.
yeah, and
Always.
it's really good, especially if you see a really good movie. You're like, man, I only paid $5 for this. That's dope.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah.
but it makes mediocre movies or okay movies better
Hmm.
because they were only $5.
Oh
So
yeah. No, I get you. If it was
so
bad, it wasn't expensive.
exactly, and
Hmm.
that's what
Hmm.
that's good. I like that I didn't have to pay a bunch of money to watch a movie. I'm glad theaters, at least that theater, still was able to do it. Um,
Oh yeah.
because
Agreed.
I would, because they just opened back up, and it seems like they're just like, yep, we're $5 Tuesday still here. Like, that's great. I didn't think you would do that, but I'm glad that you did. Um, it's gonna be happening here in California, where everything's just gonna start opening up. So
It's
looking
an
forward.
eventuality.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to more movies, more $5 Tuesdays, and all the good
Oh yeah.
stuff.
No, I will see your $5 Tuesday and raise you another $5 Tuesday.
Ooh, okay, all right, all
Mm-hmm.
right.
You're in for a treat.
Mm,
It's a Tuesday, but $5.
but $5.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know. Did you want to talk about anything before we went into Loki?
No, I'm certain we could talk about the other stuff afterwards. I mean, you know, minute stuff. Just kind of shoot the shat conversation. So
Okay,
let's dive into it. Let's
all right.
dive into the the loci.
The Loki. Um, I'll be straight up. It wasn't as I wasn't as into it as I was the previous two episodes. Um, but I don't know. It just seemed like this episode. Well, the one thing that really ticked me off before I even pressed played, um, was that it was, I think, about 10 minutes shorter or more than the other episodes.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, this episode, so altogether with intro and credits, is 42 minutes long, where the average uh t- time for the other ones were about like 54 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah, so
they're
that I
trying to
was,
stiff us.
and I think that's what made the episode a little worse for me, just because I knew like this episode I'm gonna miss out on 10 minutes of something, and that
Mm-hmm.
fucking blows. But watching the episode, I kind of get it. I think it ended on a good note. Um, with the rocket being blown up and them kind of just being like, oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, but I'm trying to think because like, so he finally meets up with Lady Loki, and you're correct. Obviously, it's Sylvie. Um, you know, but about the
Yay, I
episode,
recycled something that the internet told me
yeah.
without any work.
um,
Yay.
um, like I don't know, it was something that it's just about it. It's just it didn't hit me as hard as the other episodes. I think because like some of the answers were being answered, but they weren't like the greatest answers. Um, it was definitely an episode that's setting. It's a setup episode. That's the best way I can describe it. Right? You get to we get to meet Sylvie, name, and then also um who she is and everything, right? Um and that's great. Um 1 second. I think I'll just get my attention. 2 seconds. Huh? Okay. Never mind. So then yeah, it's a setup episode because you meet up, you finally get to meet Sylvie, and you kind of get to know the where she came from and all this other stuff. You even get to find out that she didn't actually know her mom growing up, and then Loki kind of explains himself and stuff like that. Obviously, you still don't know like the full plan. Like you kind of have an idea of what it might
Yeah.
be, but she doesn't spill the beans completely, which is fine, right? Like that's the whole thing about trusting people, right? You don't really spill the beans with people you don't trust. Um, and then I don't know, like Loki kind of, I don't know, like there's Loki just seems in this episode to be messing up, but like not in a normal Loki way. Like Loki doesn't mess up. He gets stopped, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I
the
can see
whole
what you're saying.
like the whole Avengers thing, like it wasn't that he messed up, it's just the Avengers stopped him, right? It seems
Hmm.
like everything else, like Thor stopped Loki from doing other things, and so it's like it's less about Loki doing mistakes, causing him not to be able to do what he wants.
Hmm.
It's more of like people are able to stop him from doing what he wants, and so this
Hmm.
episode is more about him messing up, right? Like he sends them to some planet, right? That's gonna blow up, and then he
Lamentine, I think it's called.
Lamentine one,
Or
yeah,
Lamentus.
yes, and then the whole getting on the train and then him getting drunk, and like it just like I don't know, like that doesn't seem like something, at least the Loki that I'm used to, that would do. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then like.
I'm kind of hoping that it's less, not hoping. I
Mm,
get the impression that some of it is like con and some of it is like
uh,
she's hitting a couple like a little soft spots on him.
okay.
I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, like
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying though.
yeah, like and it's hard to really decipher him because he is constantly, being mischievous about things, and like, at a point when he shows the device and it's all messed up, I
Hmm.
thought maybe he did that on purpose, but the device is actually safe somewhere,
Right.
um
But nope, turns out it's probably fucked.
because if you notice when they're sitting down, it seems like he was about to do a trick to like maybe show that I was actually fucking with you. It's real.
Uh-huh.
Um, if you rewatch it, it seems like he puts his hands together, like maybe to do like a little trick to like show or something, and then he like
Uh-huh.
hesitates and stops, and then he doesn't do it, and then he starts talking to her again, and I'm like, maybe you're right. Maybe he is just messing with her, and you know knowing that they can get away, but he wants to um get her to tell him what's happening. And this is
Hmm.
the only way, right? Like the
I'm
planet's about to get
Yeah,
doomed, like about to
I'm
blow up.
hoping that's what that was going with. I'm in with what you were saying on that.
Yeah, and and then like they find out, or like she starts spilling the beans, like, okay, well, this is what I was gonna do, since we're gonna die anyways. And he's like, okay, cool, and pulls out the right one, and then opens up a door, like, either let's go or like see you later, and he leaves, right? One or the other, whatever. Most likely they both go through the portal, but um, yeah, like it's this is definitely more a setup episode. I think the first two episodes were like getting us into like the world, and also great information, and that I really enjoyed, that got my brain going. Got this is the small part that got me hyped, was when she's saying like, yeah, I had to go like hundreds of years in their past to like get something out of him. He's like, wait a minute, what? It's like
Hmm.
finding out that Owen Wilson's character is actually Owen Wilson from the
Yeah,
90s.
yeah, I know, right? See, that's why he's so in love with jet skis, because he
Right?
was. See what it is. This is what it is. He's the variant that worked
Mm-hmm.
up the courage to ride a jet ski,
Yep.
and that's all. That's all
Yep.
they took him for. And turns out, like, oh man, that variant, that alternate timeline, we got Al Gore.
Yeah.
No Iraq War, fusion energy. We reversed climate change. Shit. All that because he just wanted to ride a fucking jet ski. I say
Yep.
let the fucker ride a jet ski.
Yeah. Same here. But
So there's another theory with that
oh,
too. The theory
yes.
is that that scene when Owen Wilson's Jesus Mobius,
Yeah.
when he's in the office and he's like, "Oh, I hope you tell me who that favorite like variant or that favorite off caseworker of yours is."
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a theory that like it's multiple versions of Owen Wilson.
Oh.
Yeah, and those rings are
Yeah.
not just from him, they're from the multiple versions of him or variants.
Okay. Okay. I can.
Might be a little heartbreaking, but I think that'd
Yeah.
be pretty cool.
Yeah. Like I think the yeah. I guess my prediction of the other caseworker, probably someone that, you know, we find out later on that's maybe someone, maybe it's another Loki. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Or maybe it's Sylvie themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe Sylvie was a caseworker. But no,
Mm-hmm.
the way
What
she talks, I don't think she was a caseworker.
what I see happening is I don't know. I wonder if it's just because they want to enrich the story, or it's some kind of like self-doubt, or it's a mandate. But there's really a preoccupation with creating a subplot that your character has to like attack.
Yeah.
So in WandaVision, it was no, this, you know, the real problem. Well, no, not the real problem, but the real enemy is uh, Agatha. And the second one, no,
Mm.
it can't just be hunting down the Flag Smashers,
Yeah.
or coming to grips with or fighting with the new Captain America, American Agent. It's vice versa, where it's like, no, we have to put in the Flag Smashers, or we have to do this thing with another Captain America, or we have to do this other thing with like Sharon Carter.
Right.
With this, I get the impression it's like, no. Instead of creating a story where Loki has to come to terms with like who he is written to be, like literally written to be,
Yeah.
and what that means for him when he hunts down another version of himself, it's no. You see, these characters are going to have to end up coming together to actually take down the TVA, because the TVA is using variants, wiping their memories as like a slave force to preserve
Yeah.
the timeline, if that even is what they want to do.
Right.
I mean, them preserving, if that even is what they're doing, preserving this timeline could be a mechanism for something completely else. This could be the timeline that leads people, like, that just destroys everything sooner. This could be the one where everything goes wrong or whatever. But you get what I
Mm-hmm.
mean.
Yeah.
So instead of a story, which I actually really liked this episode, it did drag a lot, don't get me wrong, but I liked the moments where we kind of poked and prodded at who Loki is, what he's insecure about, and what the other one is secure about or aspires to do as well. I
Right.
thought that was some really great character development. I thought the ending was a little abrupt, like, let's do like this 3-minute one take
Yeah.
and then just quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I'm still enjoying where everything's going. I'm not losing any interest. I liked the setting that we were on. I
Yeah.
liked the quiet moments with Sylvie. I think
Yeah.
the actress playing her is absolutely playful. Like, I really like
Mm-hmm.
it. And Tom Hiddleston like does really well off of her.
Yeah.
It, it's interesting because it's like I was telling you, like, I can't tell if it's the typical Marvel writing, or if it's, keeping you on your toes, where it's like, well, what does Loki want? And I don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily know that not knowing is a good thing.
Right.
Because as long as as long as you have an idea, or if the con artist trickster thing isn't too much, I think that's fine. But like, you had the second episode where it's like you can't quite tell what his motivations are, what he wants to do. So you have a hard time, at least in my opinion, understanding why he goes through the portal at the end
Yeah.
of the last episode. or at least I do. I don't know if it's a problem with me. Maybe I'm not getting it. But I liked the fact that these two characters can't trust each other.
Yeah.
Even when they're telling each other about their lives, they can't trust each other. I agree with you. I feel like Loki has been kind of goofied a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm more than fine with him being a bit playful and childish in the second episode because he's in a new environment. He really has none of the cards. Mobius does. That's fine. I feel that the I don't know. I don't necessarily have a problem with it on paper. I just feel that maybe the way it's portrayed, I'm not sure actually, now that I think about it. Because I don't mind the concept of Loki being kind of planless
Okay.
or being more impulsive. It goes more in line with his modus operandi, I suppose.
Mm.
Or like having some kind of short plan trick. But I get the idea that like him being portrayed as like a short-sighted like puppy dog chasing a car
Yeah.
doesn't quite jive with the Loki that I know or get, because it's like even in Thor Ragnarok he had a plan, or at least
Yes.
his wacky comedy based stuff was in line with who he was. Like the bit in Ragnarok when he tries to con Thor and Thor's just like, I know who you are. Like, you could be so much more, but you keep doing the same thing, and that's how I beat you. Like, that's a mistake he makes because of who he is. And it's not because
Yeah.
he's an imbecile. It's just because, well, he became predictable. And
Yep.
Thor spotted that. There's nothing. That's the problem I have, is that now he's like being turned into like the hero, and you have this transitory phase where it's like they're probably going to do Kid Loki by the end of the series or something,
Mm-hmm.
and the Loki that we kind of already know and love is dead, and this one is like the Loki who literally just like killed people with a scepter, what amounts to like a couple weeks before during
Yeah.
2012. So it's kind of odd, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Like I don't have a problem with the temp pad being destroyed by Loki's hands. I don't have a problem with that. I just feel that the onus is being put on him as like this like goofball or this inept goofball. And the movies have never painted him as an inept goofball. Like, say what you will about Thor 1, I absolutely love how fucking Machiavellian he is. And that's like the
Mm-hmm.
most planning he does in the entire fucking franchise.
Mm.
Like planning with the frost giants to like
Yeah.
cause a row with Thor, to cause a fucking to cause Odin to banish him and leave him on Earth. Like that's some smart shit.
Yeah.
And then he becomes the herald of Thanos with the stone, and then like he makes a decision out of love to help Thor in the second one. We're not talking about that one. And the third movie is about reinvention. Like Loki is the god of mischief, but something kind of got lost. He kept repeating the same shtick. And then
Yeah.
his death is the culmination of, not maybe the culmination, but it's the realization of who he chooses to be. Still a trickster, but someone who tries to do good in other ways. I'm probably messing up his arc by a lot, but I just don't feel that something is quite jiving with this Loki.
Yeah. Yeah, but I agree. I mean, that's kind of like where I was kind of headed to, but
Hmm.
you explained it way
I just
better than
said
I
that
did.
5 times over for you. No, I didn't. I absolutely did not. Just because I say it 5 times does not mean it's better. I don't I don't have anything wrong with the character. Like, I enjoy the fact that we're getting a new side of Loki who is virtually powerless.
Yeah.
He has no power. Everyone knows his trick. So, and on top of that, he's seen his death, and he's
Yeah.
seen the person that he could have been.
Yeah.
so he's essentially reinventing himself as he goes along.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wonder if there are other movies or other characters within the MCU that I've seen where he goes from, this absolute badass or this absolutely kind of Machiavellian character to like goofball. Fucking
Yeah.
Whedon did that with every one of his fucking characters. Like he took characters and was like, give them two personality types. Okay. Stark is the smart asshole. Steve Rogers is the lovable, like out of time idiot with the chip on his shoulder. Uh, 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 Print. But like, these characters have been added to a lot more than since that.
Yeah.
So even Loki too. So I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like this is probably the last we're gonna see of Tom Hiddleston, and he's really giving it his all. I can see the effort in a lot of what he does. Like
Mm-hmm.
he amps the charm up to 1,000,000, and like I said, it feels like this is probably going to be some of the last outing with him. And I'm feeling like this is a weird phase for the character.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know. Beautiful setting. I loved the entire use of purple. Um, class struggle, Snowpiercer, uh, drinking and walking, lots of walking, and then they tried to
Lots of
Children
walking.
of Man it in the end, and that was so strange. It was like I like that premise. I really like that the audacity he has, where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, what if we fuck with the timeline? Even though they'll spot us, we'll still be able to get out of here alive. And we'll just
Yeah.
deal with whatever we can come what may. I like that. That's some audacious Loki shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the ending was a little too jarring. It was like,
Yeah.
again, 3 minutes of a one take, and then just, I think literally the span of 15 seconds, kablooey, and then give up. I'm sure they're literally going to be saved or something in that moment.
Yeah.
TVA, Owen Wilson, or something is going to wow them. But like, I don't know. I'm excited to see what comes next. I still would have really liked like what I keep saying. I really would have liked a WandaVision, which was less action and more like, how do I let go of the things that I love without, or
Yeah.
how do I keep the things that I love without harming people? I can't. I need to learn to let go. How do I become Captain America when I don't even feel like I deserve it? Like, what makes
Right.
me different than the other person instead of, all this extra bullshit? And I really would have liked the idea of Loki spending this entire fucking franchise, or for not franchise, show, trying to reinvent himself through his hunting of Sylvie. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this person is obviously inferior, episode 2. Oh, this person's obviously cunning, episode 3. Oh, there's more to this person. What does that say about me? Da 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 da. What does my relationship with this organization say? Da 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 da. Oh, I found this person. Like, maybe I've changed how I feel about myself and how I want to be, or it's just something. Like, I don't know
Right.
if the big I don't know if these movies or shows are necessarily that small, if you catch my meaning.
Yes.
I feel like they are just both expanded and condensed movies in just the oddest of ways. I feel like they
Okay.
could be smaller and more intimate and tell far greater stories in in different ways. But again, like there's still Marvel movies. You can't have Loki talking for a whole episode, or you can't have an
Mm-hmm.
actual investigation thing. Watch when She-Hulk comes out, it's going to be her doing some law stuff, and then another subplot happens, and it's going to completely derail like the thing that she's doing to solve this one thing. It's going to be like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
we're investigating a murder and I'm defending this murder, da da da. And then this parallel thing that's connected to the story is going to like derail all of it. And you're going to realize, oh, the person that's on trial right now is going to like team up with me and I have to help take this thing down or yada yada.
yeah.
Like that template seems to be what's going on, where a very powerful story is being diluted for an action adventure template.
Hmm.
Because to be fair, I think WandaVision would have been a hell of a lot better as a suspense thriller. Like go
Huh.
all the way into the suspense thriller.
Yeah, yeah.
Take out most of the action, take out as much of it as you can, and just make it a story about a woman who just can't let, well, it's already a story about a woman who can't let go, but lean into that and lean into the spookier aspects of it. You take away um the shadow broker. You just make this organization a bunch of kids who are trying to change the system, because to be honest, the system is pretty fucked up, and the person who's being paraded around as Captain America right now is extra fucking fashy. And
Mm-hmm.
how is the person who was meant to be Captain America represent an image that has been tainted and still be a beacon of hope?
Right.
And then Loki, how do I reinvent myself? How do I be the person I should be? How do I get past those things? Like, you don't need necessarily Sylvie for Loki to take on the TVA. You don't need the TVA for Loki to like have a battle of wits and come to
Yeah.
his senses on who he is uh with the TVA.
Yeah.
Like, you could have had the TVA that just exists. They're just a boring bureaucratic like MIB for time, and not do the whole, oh, they're slaves thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I like where that's going, but I
Yeah.
feel like that doesn't do service to the idea of Loki hunting this other version of himself down and reconciling with who he is.
Right. Right.
So that's just my 2 cents. I'm always going to be excited for this stuff. I am still excited. I just
Yeah.
I got into a ramble while you and I were talking about it.
Yeah. No, no, it's right. Like the way you described the episode, like again, I wasn't super hyped throughout the episode, but you're right. It was a slower episode. Like I said, it was more of a setup, but it was nice to have those slow moments of learning who Sylvie is, and also just seeing where Loki's at the moment. Um, I still do believe that maybe he's still being super mischievous. Now that he knows, like, they're saying like, oh, uh, the variant is like the superior Loki and this and that, and I feel like he does honestly, believe that he's the superior Loki. Um,
Mhm.
be it that Sylvie was able to, get away and do her thing and everything, but at the same time, I feel like Loki does have a plan, does know what he's doing, but he's just playing it to his best advantage from what he knows, right? Like
And I hope he
he,
does. Like, I hope
yeah,
that's something that they have in the story coming along, and not just a last minute thing.
yeah. Like he knows if he goes back to the TVA, he's dead, right? Um,
Right.
he knows that he wasn't
He
long
is
to be there.
fucked.
Yeah. And also, he knows that Sylvie. He knows that Sylvie wants to get to the three people, whatever they're called. Um, and he wants to know her plan so he can do it himself. Like,
Right.
whether he's doing it for himself or for whoever, like, I think he inevitably that's going to be his plan. Is it going to succeed? I don't, I don't know, because again, we don't know the outcome to this show, unlike the
Mhm.
other episodes or the other shows, right? We don't know the outcome. We know there's movies coming out soon, but we don't know what what the big plot is with those stories, right? We just know
Yeah.
that
Oh yeah.
Doctor Strange and multiverse and stuff like that. So we don't know if Loki will succeed in doing what he wants to do, or maybe he
Right.
sets it up so he helps the Avengers down the road, right? Maybe he does, like he makes it so it's easier for them to do what they need to do to save the multiverse.
The
And
Tiva. Yeah.
yeah, and we'll see. I still think that he still has that device, but he wants to make sure that, because I think he says it a few times where he says, "I want to know that I can trust you," you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You
and
know what? I can go fuck myself. I think you're probably right. I think the I'm being a little too harsh on what I perceive is
mhm,
something going on with the character, where it could literally just be him conning her. Seriously.
yeah, like I don't know, like I feel like maybe he's just good at conning, that knows how to make it so he looks like he's an idiot,
Yeah, that could be it.
you
It's
know.
a new avenue for him.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm still excited for the episodes. I want to know what comes up next. Yeah, I agree with the most like the ending was very abrupt. I thought it was super silly, the whole one shot thing. Obviously, they were cuts. There's just really really good editing behind it.
Oh
Um
yeah.
but I did think it was silly that they were literally in a really small area. Like it seemed like they moved a lot, but they didn't really go anywhere.
20 feet.
Yeah. Uh
20 feet forward.
yep, that's about it. And they're basically in the same area that they started, and it is what it is.
Hacks.
Yeah. But again, I'm excited. I wasn't really super hyped up, throughout the episode, but I did overall enjoy the slow moments.
Mhm.
And silly Loki isn't horrible. Silly Loki is cool.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, I like it. I like
yeah,
um I like this character. I like that she's varied from Tom Hiddleston's. I like the actress too.
yeah,
Again, like that's what I'm saying. Like if it was an investigation where it's like he keeps learning different things about her. Like
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
that bit that I like in the second episode is when Owen Wilson's like, "Well, we know that this one's a trickster. Wow, we know this about this one." Like that's stuff that I want revealed more and more of. Like
yeah,
you have something where it's like Loki's investigating Sylvie, and he's like, "Wait, this one never lost this person or never experienced this yet." And it's like, what does that say about me if I know where to find her or how to hunt her down based on this differentiation? Like, what does that
yeah,
say about me? Like, oh, she never betrayed her brother, so she'll probably go here in this timeline. Like, what does that say about him if he did betray his brother at this point, and what makes them different in that way?
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I think it was still a really good episode. I'm always in favor of like slow, ponderous episodes. I I heard a lot of flack about this episode where it doesn't have enough action. And I feel like I'm in
Mm,
the wrong, well, no, I'm definitely in the wrong franchise for slow, ponderous conversation. Um
I mean,
but
yes, there
I
wasn't
don't
enough.
mind. Go ahead.
No, I say I know there wasn't enough action, but I was gonna literally go with what you're about to say. I don't mind the non-action stuff.
Because I know that what I'm probably recommending is as a way of like franchise material probably isn't that entertaining. Like I would probably want something more in the veins of the genre that they were imitating, like
Mm-hmm.
uh, a period show thriller, like 3 Days of the Condor, like political thriller, just like uh, bu- 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 just like Winter Soldier, and then like this, it's just a wacky like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but with like interpersonal or introspection, and that's it. But
Mhm.
like again, you have to put some of the funnier Marvel-y actiony stuff in there too. Like
Yeah.
I can't see a Spider-Man where it's just like him spending 2 hours talking to Stephen Strange about like wiping the world's memory
Yeah.
over his like secret identity. Like that wouldn't be too terrible, but like no one really wants to see that. They want to see the hallmarks of a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Um yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens to the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still hyped.
Um
I'm still looking forward to it. I appreciate the slow boil nature,
yeah.
and got a couple more days.
Yeah. Excited. Um we're only an hour and a half in. Did you wanna
Only,
hmm? um
only.
only. But I did you I don't know if there's anything else you were gonna bring up. I know you were kind of on the fence about talking about something.
Halloween Kills. The trailer for that came out today.
Oh.
I don't know how I feel about it. It looks like they're treading over Halloween 2, and at the same time, like significantly racking up Michael's body count.
Mm-hmm.
I despise with all my being the Rob Zombie Halloween
Okay.
franchise. Um, I've always been more of a fan of the movies where he kills fewer people. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
need Michael Myers to be like the literal walking bullet sponge that he is,
Yeah.
but I find something. I find it more intimate, maybe if that's the proper
Okay.
word, when
Yeah.
you have this character who is still human, who is still mortal to a degree, killing fewer people.
Yeah.
I think Halloween 1 is a fucking perfect example. What's the one? I think Halloween 4, when they reboot it, I absolutely
Mm-hmm.
fucking despise the scene when Jamie's walking, or not Jamie, whatever her name is,
Yeah.
the young girl, Laurie Strode's daughter, when she's walking through the prison and like it's just a mass fucking grave of bodies, like 20 of them. That's why I enjoyed the latest Halloween.
Okay.
Um, because the person is still human. Like I get that they imply like he's pure evil, da da da. In the other ones, he's like a Satanist, and in the Rob Zombie version, and in the
Right.
previous one, he's like a disciple of some Norse or like uh whatever god, whatever. I've always been more interested in the idea of him being like a placeholder for evil, but still a human being.
Mm.
That strikes me as more like Rob Zombie. You know how I was bitching about the whole Satanic Panic thing. He
Yeah.
leans into the whole Satanic Panic stuff. Um,
Okay.
he's like, yeah, no, let's lean into that shit and just totally like scare people with that. And like, I'm fine with that. That's fine. You take something and you warp it against the culture that like created it. That's cool. But he's like this essentially he's like this disciple of like the Dark One or whatever. I didn't think it was that interesting. The more you get into like the mythology of the sequels to who Michael Myers is, he becomes less interesting.
Okay.
When they rebooted the franchise to follow what I can imagine is just the first one,
Okay.
he's more interesting as this figure who just is really fucking hard to kill, and you don't necessarily know why he wants to do what he does. You know
Okay.
what he wants to do in the other movies. He wants to sacrifice Jamie. He wants to kill Laurie. Like that's obvious. He has a bone to pick with his family.
Right.
But like his motivations are not clear. And when you keep providing him lore, you remove the mystery, kind of like the Xenomorph when it comes to the prequels.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, so the point of what I was getting to is
Yeah.
I'm a little trep I have some trepidation when it comes to this movie because it looks like he's going to significantly rack up his body count, and I don't know what his objective is necessarily. Like, I get like kill the Strodes and their ilk. That's always been his modus operandi, but the trailers kind of paint him as a little listless, as kind of maybe without some kind of motivation.
Okay.
And that just, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not the biggest Halloween fan anyway. Again, two idiots talk, not like that. My girlfriend's looking at me. She loves Halloween. I just might have well stabbed her in the butt. I know, I'm a monster. The next one is Shang-Chi. And Shang-Chi, fucking, I wish they didn't pull this shit in the trailer. Shang-Chi, I'm really excited about. They seem to have introduced more stuff, more of the story. The second trailer for Shang-Chi, again, I don't know anything about Shang-Chi other than what I've seen in the trailers. I don't know anything about the comic book character. He was raised by this crime boss or like crime individual who uses these 10 rings that have some kind of magical or technological power.
Mm-hmm.
And he's given essentially 10 years to enjoy life, and then he's brought back into the fold. And I like the father-son dynamic, the father villain son hero dynamic. I don't think it's anything that we've actually seen before in this franchise, which I'm really interested. But that's not the fucking point. The point is that fucking Abomination has been brought back into the franchise.
Abomination. That is Hulk.
Abomination. Hulk's frenemy.
Hulk
No, Hulk's
friend.
enemy.
Okay.
So
and he was. Wait. So how did you get that from
he was in
the?
2009. Well, I'm making an inference. I'm
Oh, okay.
assuming. So in the trailer, there's a bit where they have like a cage fight, and this big Hulk-like thing with like a huge like spine dorsal ridge thing and
Oh,
things on his
yeah.
ears is fighting a sorcerer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hear me?
Okay.
You
Yep.
hear
I
me?
do.
Yeah.
I do.
So I am to assume that that is Abomination. Abomination was last seen in 2009 in the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk movie. That's the last time we fucking see him. Emil Blonsky took some of the super soldier serum that Steve Rogers had, and he's like, I want more, and then takes some of the Hulk's like blood serum and turns into Abomination. And they name drop. You'll turn into like an abomination, and then looks at the camera. So I'm excited for that. I'm always pissed that they reveal that shit in the trailers, but my endorphins are high because of it, so I'm going to treat this as a good thing until I go to sleep and wake up and realize that I now know Abomination is going to be in Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Well, do you think?
Still excited.
So
Endorphins.
do you believe that it'll be more of a like a cameo, or do you think they're gonna like use Abomination in the story?
They're cameoing him. I don't see any
Okay.
use for him in the franchise or in this movie. It looks like they're going to be pulling on some like mystical aspects. There's like some giant like tiger animal that you briefly see in the trailer and a dragon. So that looks fucking cool. I don't see them actually inserting Abomination in the story. There has to be a set piece where they're at like a cage fighting, underground cage fighting, and he's just doing stuff there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Jurassic Park Dominion, a couple like scenes, not really enough to talk about. Just shit to buzz hype up.
Right.
God. Suicide Squad.
Uh-huh.
I was not excited for Suicide Squad. This looks a lot better.
Okay.
I'm liking the large cast, everyone dies quickly vibe that this movie is kind of throwing out there. James Gunn is the man who directed and I believe wrote Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, and he's doing The Suicide Squad to differentiate from Suicide Squad.
Okay.
It follows the similar thing. A bunch of high-end criminals are given time off their sentences to do or by doing dangerous missions. Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, fucking Polka Dot Man. Polka Dot Man, I think, is going to be my favorite fucking character. But yeah, it looks fun. Looks really entertaining. Far more entertaining than the fuckhead last movie is. But to be fair, actually, that's not to be fair. Just so I can talk, it judging from what happened with Suicide Squad, David Ayer made his movie. It came across as complete until a couple of amateur trailer developers essentially re-edited the movie.
Okay.
So I don't know if the Ayer cut even fucking exists or if it's even any good, but that's an explanation that I keep hearing on the interwebs. So I don't mean to be an entire dick to the Suicide Squad. It was fucking terrible, but I don't quite think I can blame even a small amount of people on that movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anywho, anything you would like to bring up? Would you like to table anything?
Would I like to table anything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me run this through you. I talked to our good friend of Ed about it. So I was just thinking, I was at work and the question came up in my head. Um, so I'm Mexican American, right? So when it comes to like holidays, there's things like Cinco de Mayo. Right? So that's an example for me, but what came up was Juneteenth, right? Um, I wanted to basically ask a Black American, be like, obviously the first question would be, what is your thought behind, or what are your thought process of Juneteenth becoming a holiday, a national holiday, right? Get their thoughts on that, and then my next question would be my follow up of, what are your thoughts of Juneteenth becoming commercialized, similar to something like, for example, Pride Month, right? There's a lot of companies who just they have their logo and then color it in rainbow and say, here you go, I'm going to make money off of this. And
Right.
kind of get some thoughts on that, right? And kind of just, you know, get different perspectives, right? And I was thinking about kind of like how I said about video essays and stuff like that. Like that's something that I still would like to do. It's just I don't have the time to do that. But this is another idea that I was thinking about where I would have questions similar to that and ask people, record it, and then post it on the interwebs.
Oh, like a little interview, a little entertainment interview.
Yes, but get like very like I'm trying to think of the right terms of what type of questions I'm looking for. It's more like maybe not thinking like people's ideals and philosophies behind things and get different perspectives like
Uh-huh.
yeah but that's something that like
If
that's go ahead.
if I may, a good
Mm-hmm.
template is try Philosophy Tube and ContraPoints. I've mentioned them before, I think
Uh-huh.
one or two times before. They do similar videos to what you're talking about. They do
Okay.
feature length video essays, and they deal in a specific topic.
Okay.
And they're fairly, like, I would say, sock demi. They provide an opening for some things. There's a YouTuber I like who said they tend to open the discussion for subjects.
Mm. Okay.
Like they have opinions and they put them in their videos and they discuss them, and you can see where they're coming from, obviously.
Yeah.
But I do think they are fairly, they tote the line between informational and educational, or informal, or
Hmm.
informative. Thank you. Sorry, informative and entertaining.
Okay. Yeah, that's just like I
But
get
did you want to talk about Juneteenth, or were you just proposing an idea based off of that?
an idea based off of that.
Okay.
I don't remember most questions that pop up like that for me, but I do get some questions like that it's not an you know it's not an easy question to answer, right? Like you have to
Hmm.
really think about what the question is, and then I like those type of questions where you get asked and you kind of have to think while you're talking, and kind of like question, like, is this how I feel, like, is this correct, like a type of question that isn't asked very often and you don't know the answer right away, is the best way I can describe it. um like I kind of ask myself those questions occasionally here and there, just to see like what is my perspective, or what is my stance on certain things. um
Of course.
yeah, and that's just kind of what was running through my mind this week, kind of um because like you just gave me example of people who've done it already, but I already figured people have done it, but like you know form a way for me to be able to do it. But obviously it's not an easy thing to do, time and money and
Hmm.
other stuff. But
Oh
it's
yeah.
just it's an idea that ran through my head already, and I was kind of like thinking about it, like that would be something that I would enjoy doing. um
I don't know. I
mm,
think that's something that would be really fun. I
yeah.
wouldn't mind working on like a pilot program for that or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would enjoy working on that too. um we can talk more later. What kind of
I'm
because
absolutely down.
I think what really gets me is like when you and I just kind of get questions and we kind of shoot the shit, like right now towards the end of the episode, we kind of shoot the shit about certain things we ask ourselves to, get our minds going, like I enjoy that, and then I like to hear people's perspectives and stuff like that, cuz
Right.
I have my own, and I know my own, but my thing is more like, is mine, you know, the actual end all be all, right? Like, I've been turned around on certain subjects and certain ideals, and I'm like, oh yeah, actually you're right. This is wrong. It's like it's like making a magic deck, right? Um, you you build your deck, but then you do see other cards that are either better or more fun for yourself, and you're like, huh, I'm gonna put that in my deck, and then it's like, I don't know, it's magic reference, kind of thing, but you see things that make more sense or that are just outright better than what it is. And that's how I feel like things with ideals and stuff. Like I don't know if there is a this is 100% correct. This is 100% like the right choice kind of thing, right? Um, and like I don't know, like I'm pretty sure there's plenty of philosophical, or however you describe that, like philosophy questions that people ask themselves all the time, right? Like the whole
Hmm.
train and people question, that they ask, and it's like yeah, I don't know, like I don't know if I want to ask those types of questions.
Like a
Like
forum,
yeah,
not like a chat forum, but like uh,
yeah,
what a forum was meant to be, an
yes,
environment where ideas can be exchanged.
mm-hmm. I think
It's
that
tough, that
yeah,
sadly the internet isn't anything like that. It's you know
right,
it's a lot
yeah,
of insidious stuff, and it's a lot of people thinking that they can have decent conversations.
Yeah. And yeah, I was also, thinking about what I'd be like, like in person kind of stuff, like internet. I know, like, you know, pandemic was more of like, non in person stuff, but like, now that we're kind of rolling out of there, uh, um, would I be doing in person interviews or online? Do I get stuff from like, do I do like ask a question on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and I just kind of get the answers from there, like, because I do like I don't know, there's like different subjects and topics that are out there that I do have questions that I feel like aren't easy to answer, and the type of questions that I would love to ask multiple people and kind of get their perspective
Mm,
on it, right? um
It's tough. Um,
yeah.
I agree with what you're saying. I'm going to be completely honest.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who has the values of a leftist, or
Mm-hmm.
tries to, essentially the democratized workforce,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, uh, the demilitarization ending of imperialism or American imperialism, uh, simple stuff like that, I suppose. Um, I should feel like I should have a better handle on my views.
Yeah.
Um, and to be fair, sometimes when I watch people pick other people apart, on YouTube or debates, because
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy some debate bro stuff. Sometimes it's hard for me to not, or sometimes if I'm not thinking immediately critically, or critically immediately,
Yeah.
I tend to have what can feel like a reactionary mind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that, and that's just a mind that I tend to have when I switch. I'm not saying like I just go fucking full Nazi if I hear just something that goes crazy, but like my
Yeah.
initial response is like a little defensive,
Yeah.
or maybe like someone will say something, they're an asshole. I know that they're a conservative. I know that they're a fucking psychopath, but the rhetoric in which they use tends to be very tricky and tends to get someone like me who's I talk a lot. I have half considered philosophical ideologies in my head, uh, where it's easy to sway just an idiot like me, even though I believe in the removal of unjust hierarchies, uh,
Yeah.
providing people with social safety nets and welfare systems. I don't believe that these are a drag, but I don't have the wherewithal. Well, I have not invested the wherewithal to hold myself accountable to the things that I believe. And that happens to a lot of people, Harry. That's not I don't think there's anything I admire how you want to approach that. The point of what I was getting at was I feel like doing that without some kind of critical lens beforehand could lead you down
Okay.
some pretty weird avenues.
Mm.
Like, oh, hey, I brought this one guy on who's, fucking who's a Proud Boy, and then I brought this other guy on who's Antifa, and we're both two equal people having an equal conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem right there, is that you think you're having an equal conversation, and I'm gonna kind of show my ass a bit, but like there's an obvious difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like you're having the same conversation with two same organizations.
Right.
And you think to yourself, okay, well, I want to have a nice rounded discussion with these two people. And one of them says, like, hey, we try to promote like democratic values, and we're against fascism, and we like to fight that wherever we can in whatever form we can. And sometimes that does mean violence. And then the other guy says, well, we try to promote like good male values, and we try to protect our culture, and we try to do this and that. And it's like the guy saying we're trying to protect our culture is going to say that in the most suave sounding way as possible, and the guy saying, hey, I'm not against punching a Nazi. And without doing your research, you're going to think, well, the guy and the second guy who was just talking about defending his culture and returning to these values, and that he comes across more civil, so he must be the more diplomatic and right character.
Mm-hmm.
That tends to be sometimes the pitfall that I fall under.
Fair enough.
But I'm not saying that you would fall into that, or that would even be the line of question or interview that you would do. But it's just, I tend not to do my research. And I've walked into situations like that where I'm like, oh, the situation going on is between two equal forces or two equal persons, or these are both two rational actors.
Right.
And then you realize that like one is hiding the fact that they're like an anti-Semite, or the other one is hiding the fact that like they're willing to downplay like Stalin's genocide of people, or like shit that's going on in China right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, well, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
So like considering who that person is, their ideology, where they're coming from, veiled speech, I suppose you would consider.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Like I still haven't really fully thought about what exactly I'd be going for, but
Yeah. And it doesn't I'm sorry.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be politics. Like I'm sure that you're
Mm-hmm.
not just looking for a political answer to a political question. I'm sure the question might not even directly have a political swing to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably be not super far away from politics. I just feel uh,
You want to be
like
informed.
yeah, like it's more about me learning about the subject, right? Like I want to go in like if the thing is if I do research beforehand, like I'm going to go in with some form of opinion with myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where if I go in just asking the question and not knowing, like truly asking questions, right? And these are things that I'd be asking like people who aren't me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, like like I said, the question that really brought up was something that I would ask a Black American because that's like Juneteenth doesn't really affect me. I'm Mexican American. Like Juneteenth has nothing to do with me, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like I would be asking the people who it affects, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
do ask some form of political question, I would ask the people that it affects, right? But you
Mm-hmm.
know, politics, like you said, like can be a little iffy because people. It's like cheering for a sports team, right? It's like you're making an argument for why your team's the best, and it's like, well, like both have their
Let me
goods
be
and
clear,
bad.
like I don't mean to I don't mean to sound kind of like an asshole, but some ideologies are better than others.
Yes.
And it's difficult to untangle that sometimes when
Mm-hmm.
you're being bombarded with like speech that hides how bad a specific ideology is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of the crux of what I'm trying to get at, where it's
Okay.
like how people talk and what they talk about is just as important.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
But
I mean,
I like where your head's at. I really do.
yeah. Just something that I was thinking about the other day. I was like, huh. Because yeah, like there's certain things that I don't know. I think the biggest thing is like, I can go onto Twitter and ask the exact same question, but I would not I would not enjoy the answers that I have because it's just
Yeah.
a person
You would
behind a
Yeah,
screen,
you would
right?
get
Like
a billion different answers. You could probably, if you had the time or temperament, compile a fucking algorithm
mhm. Yeah.
of different responses. But it's like you're essentially getting like a monsoon of varying different opinions that don't help you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I was thinking about, asking in person, yeah, like directly, right? One person at a time, kind of get um some just I what's the word? Just their perspective, right? I think it's a um because I generally can stand in someone's shoes and kind of understand where they're coming from, but
Mm-hmm.
there's also a lot of things I can't, right? There's just like I physically can't, like like I can't stand in the shoes of a woman because I don't know how going through menstrual cycles and pregnancies and all this stuff. I have no
Yeah.
idea, right? I really don't. You can try to
Mm-hmm.
explain it to me, but I'm like, dude, like I
I'm
really can't.
trying, but there's
I'm
only so far
trying.
I can get.
Exactly. So it's like there's certain things that I can't really understand, but maybe they can explain it, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I can try to get it. So like, yeah, it's just stuff like that that I'd like to see in other people's perspective, that things that I can never do, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I don't know. It's still in the process. I'm still thinking about it. How do I want to go about it? But yeah.
Or secondary YouTube where you do that to increase the algorithm
Mm.
should be called the critical bear.
Yeah. I mean, not bad. It's not a bad name.
Mm-hmm.
I should probably take it before Demetrius takes it.
You shithead, Harry. No, I'm sorry, you shithead, Demetrius. I'm so sorry, Harry.
It's okay.
I'm just kidding, Demetrius.
um, yeah. Um, that's about it. That was just running through my head. Um, anything else for you from you? You got anything?
No, no, I'm impressed. I didn't know this about you, Harry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just thought you were a bear going from one honeypot to another.
I generally am. I generally am. But occasionally, I see something along the way, and I'm like, huh,
I
huh,
want to know more about this.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
I like this. I like this critical bear.
Critical bear. Yeah,
Tell you,
it's good.
it's good. It's gonna catch on.
It will.
You're
It
gonna make
will.
millions. I'm gonna be left in the side. I'm gonna die cold and alone, and you're gonna die in
Nonsense.
a fucking jacuzzi,
Jacuzzi.
rich and old.
Yeah.
110.
110. Wow. They're giving me. That's. Wow. Okay. 110. Got it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
watch. 110. You're
All
gonna
right.
still be able to remember this conversation. It's not gonna like you're gonna be old and have no memory. You'll remember.
Okay. All right. Like, guess I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, goddamn right you are. All
Also, I have
right.
jury duty next week.
Oh God,
That's
you
how we
poor
end it.
thing. All right, bye. Jury duty. Bye. God, you really know how to just make a boner flaccid, don't you?
Mm-hmm. That's what I
Oh
do.
yeah, and fuck the straight out of nowhere Scooby Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog movie.
Yep. There you go.
There you go. Perfect end it.
Yep.
We want you to watch our old stuff. Go on YouTube. Cat hitting the mark with Harry and Mark. Email us hitting the mark 2020
Mm-hmm.
hitting
Mm-hmm.
the mark 2020 at gmail.com, and tweet us, twit us on Twitter at capital H, capital T, capital M underscore podcast. HTM underscore podcast. You got that, fuckers? All three platforms.
Mm.
I could feel it. I could feel your anger. Yeah, this
Yep.
is good. I like
Well,
I like it. I like it.
like it's most of the time when you're doing the intro and outro, I'm trying not to laugh, and
Oh.
it gets difficult.
Oh God. Oh,
I'm
you're
like,
not laughing this time, are you? It wasn't funny.
no, it
Oh
was.
man.
I'm saying like,
No, you can laugh. It's okay. I
well, because
need
we
that
look,
validation.
we
Don't
don't
try too hard.
look. It's because we don't have face cams or anything, and the audience can't see us, and you can't see me because I'm not sharing my screen. So
You
I
just
just little tidbit on the side. The reason why I'm generally not saying anything is because I'm like my head's turned away from the microphone, uh, you know, laughing.
I wish I could believe you, Harry.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
wish. You know
You
what?
don't have to.
We're gonna end it. We're gonna end it on this. Do you remember Boondock Saints when the big fat dude is not making a 1-1 comparison, by the way. The big fat dude, they put on the ski mask and it's all fucked up around the face.
Mm-hmm.
We should do webcam like podcast too, except
Okay.
you wear that fucked up ski mask as
Uh
well,
huh. Okay. Okay.
and I'll just be normal.
Okay.
Right? Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
I like that. I like that.
All right. Perfect. We'll have
All
it
right.
for a future episode.
Well, all right. We're gonna end it on that.
Mm.
Ski mask with a little glory hole, lazy glory hole for Harry.
Yeah. Glory hole towards my mouth.
Hoary goal. Yeah. You say it, it's gonna happen.
Oh man.
All right, folks. Fucking Alvidazane assholes, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye bye.
Alvidazane.